So this video is just a summary for anyone that wants a little bit more about how to use the Cartesian plane and graph ordered pairs. So this page begins with just some language. So Cartesian plane is just a fancy way of saying a graph that you can be using to graph points on a grid. You have ordered pairs that you're going to graph, and the ordered pairs are made up of x and y coordinates. The lines on the grid meet at a point called the origin, and there are two number lines, one that is horizontal called the x-axis and one that is vertical called the y-axis. And then when you graph points, your coordinates are always x comma y. So if that's hard to remember, just remember alphabetical order, x then y, which means when you're plotting, you move left and right first and up and down second. So let's label some of these things. So for example, here is my x-axis, and I label that by putting a little x. Here is my y-axis, and I label that by putting a little y. This point is called the origin. I also can label my x and y. So this would have a value of 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, etc. 1, 2, 3, etc. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. When I label, I usually label below the x-axis and to the left of the y-axis. Anything to the right is positive, anything to the left is negative. On the y, anything above up is positive, anything below or down is negative. And then, as I said, coordinates are always x comma y. So for example, if I wanted to plot 2, negative 3, I need to go to the right 2, 1, 2, and then from there down 3, 1, 2, 3, and then that is the point 2, negative 3. The origin, whoops, 2, negative 3, it's not closing, there we go. The origin is always the point 0, 0. So another example, negative 3, negative 1, I go over to the left 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I go down 1, that would be negative 3, negative 1. If I had the point, let's say 0, 3, that means don't move left or right, and then only move up 3. So points like that are going to be right on the y-axis. Likewise, a point like this, 4, 0, I'm going to move right 4, but not up or down. So be careful with ones like those. Some other language that you're introduced to, this is quadrant 1. Because your Cartesian plane is split into 4 quadrants. This one is quadrant 2. This one is quadrant 3. And this one is quadrant 4. Some things that you're going to notice, in quadrant 1, your x and your y are both positive. In quadrant 2, your x is negative and your y is positive. In quadrant 3, both your x and your y are negative. And in quadrant 4, your x is positive and your y is negative. If you have dots like these two, they are not in a quadrant. So this is not on a quadrant, it's on the y-axis. And this one, it's not in a quadrant, it's on the x-axis. So there's just a little bit of terminology and a brief review of how to graph points.